This week we are living with the 2025.5 Volvo XC90, which is interesting because manufacturers don't typically do half model years. It's either a 2025 or a 2026, but this one just happened to coincide in between the two, hence 2025.5. And this generation of XC90 has actually been out for quite a while. I believe it came out in 2016, so do the latest round of updates, keep it fresh and competitive with other options in the segment, whether BMW X5, Audi Q7, or Mercedes GLE. Now, the XC90 actually reminded me of a very interesting story I saw on social media. Now, disclaimer, this is not recommended. You should not do this, but it happened. There was a family and they had a EF4 tornado coming through, a pretty strong tornado. And I guess wherever they lived, they did not have a basement. So they were kind of panicking, trying to figure out where to go for safety with a tornado coming. And they decided to go in their XC90. Now, again, disclaimer, this is not recommended. I looked into it because in a tornado, vehicles can become airborne. You have debris. It can be very dangerous. You want to either go into the basement or maybe an interior room or a bathtub or something. Don't go in your car. It's not recommended. But this happened because I guess to them, they're like, safety, where do we take our family? And that's what they identified the Volvo as. And they survived. Like, the house was gone. It was like destroyed. The car was obviously very damaged, but they got out with some bumps and bruises. And I thought that was really interesting, the perspective of safety for their Volvo. It's one of the tenets, the core pillars of the Volvo brand. Now, again, one more disclaimer, don't do that, but very interesting that they weathered out a tornado in their XC90. Now, the XC90 is the flagship SUV for Volvo, the three-row, but it has a parallel, it has a sibling, the EX90. That's the all-electric version. I think Volvo may have been planning on doing all-electric flagship XC90 replacement with the EX90, but then maybe they realized customer interest, the adoption rate was not quite strong enough for what they wanted, so the XC90 had to continue on because the XC90 still has an internal combustion engine, but this one here is the plug-in hybrid, the T8 top of the line. So either you do XC90 or EX90, and this week we're going to be spending time with this T8 plug-in hybrid. This one's been pretty nicely optioned to just under $90,000. It's around $88,000 as equipped. So let's see what it's like to live with. Welcome to the Volvo XC90. It's been quite a while since I've spent time with a Volvo. Excited to get your impressions of this Swedish luxury SUV. It was very rainy and gloomy all day, but it is nice and sunny out now. We're heading up to my parents' house for dinner, but first, Angel wants a sweet treat.
I do want a sweet treat. We're gonna go get mochi dough again, correct?
Yes. So last week we had a Lincoln Navigator Black Label, which Angel, you liked quite a lot because of the size and the luxury and the tech. This is obviously a lot smaller, completely smaller class vehicle. This thing is also, as option, about $30,000 cheaper.
Okay.
So this is $88,000, and it still has a lot of nice things. So we'll see how your opinions evolve over time. It's got some really nice material touch. Like, feel some of this.
That does feel nice. I like
Swedish
this.
luxury,
Is this
yeah.
crystal?
Yeah, so I'm gonna hook up CarPlay. Wait, my Bluetooth list is a little bit ridiculous from all the cars.
Can you clear it?
Yeah, but it's kind of cool having all of these. At one point I had like a Koenigsegg on here and Rolls Royces. Okay, I don't think we have wireless CarPlay, so I am going to use the built-in apps. We're logging into Spotify.
Did Apple CarPlay?
But it's asking for a cable.
Oh.
Yeah, on Bluetooth. So I don't think this is wireless CarPlay. Let's switch over to Pure, which is all electric driving. Oh no, my driver massage has finished. Okay, so if you floor it past the detent, it'll give you the gas engine it kicked in. So I completely floored it, and it goes into hybrid mode. Back to Pure, please. It's pretty quiet. I'm actually pretty impressed with that. So they added more sound deadening on the A and B pillars. This thing is actually very quiet from a wind noise and road noise standpoint. Can you tell? Like, we're very, like, this is quieter than your Macan.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, they did a very good job. I just realized this XC90 is actually really close in color to my mom's Ford Explorer. Like a very dark maroon, purpley...
I call it eggplant purple.
Eggplant purple? Yeah, there's my mom's Explorer, and then there's the XC90.
Okay, start the car first. So gotta start it like this.
You figured it out. Good job.
Figured it out, yeah.
Yes, very good. Well, because that's non-conventional. Usually it's the button. This is a little like twist toggle.
know, but there's an arrow that tells you to twist it, so I'm not an idiot.
Maybe you're smarter than me. I try to turn it off by doing this. And I'm like,
Really?
oh. Today we're joining my wife Angel for her team building activity with her company. Yes. We're going to an air show over in Ypsilanti. It's at Willow Run Airport. That's actually a pretty cool thing that happens out here. So we took the Volvo out. Today was hectic. It was so hectic. You were simultaneously in calls. We're trying to pick up a gift card for a friend or your colleague that's having a baby. And then driving here, we ate lunch in the car while dealing with traffic. So I'm sitting here driving and you're just
on my calls trying to concentrate and coordinate a bajillion things at once, but I think finally we can just relax, enjoy the air show, and then afterwards we're heading up to Fenton to go hang out with one of your friends.
Yeah, double date.
Yeah.
How's the Volvo XC90 as a mobile office?
It's good. It's fine. You know, it's a great.
I think you're just too spoiled.
I think no. You know what? I did have the chance to drive it yesterday, and I do appreciate how powerful, how quiet, and just luxurious it is. Like I don't hear a lot of wind noise or anything like that. Very different from my Porsche Macan, so I do like that. I felt like Edward Cullen when I was driving this yesterday.
That's the only association you're making right now.
Well, that was the first time I heard about the vehicle. Was
about a Volvo?
Yes, was through Edward Cullen, like the Twilight series, when I was reading the books in high school. So that's what I associated with.
No parking, temporary police order. No parking, temporary police order. No parking, temporary police order. Actually, we saw the person putting these signs down. It's hard work in the back of the truck. They were like inserting the sign and then dropping the cone. We have the navigation pulled up in the center cluster, which is a nice part of using the built-in Google Maps. I still have not plugged my phone in for CarPlay. Whoa, this is cool. Look at that. We're here to talk about the Volvo XC90, the 2025.5 T8, no longer called the Recharge anymore, has a 4-cylinder turbocharged engine and electric supercharger with the hybrid system. It's a plug-in hybrid, all-wheel drive, 8-speed automatic transmission. The T8 is actually substantially more powerful than the B5 and the B6, which are the entry-level versions. This mid-cycle update, I guess, 2025.5 brings new infotainment screen, running a built-in Google navigation system, or Google everything system. It's Android-based, so we've got native Google Maps, Spotify. I haven't even plugged in for CarPlay quite yet, 11.2-inch screen. They increased the pixel density by like 26% or something like that. I think that was the call out. The little crystal shifter here. We have about 30, it's rated at like 32 or 33 miles of electric range, but in real world, we're probably seeing 25. I'll plug this in. It can do DC fast charging, so just basic level 2 charging. Big panoramic roof here. We've got the Alcantara headliner. Nice.
You're talking too
fast. We got the open pore wood here, recycled materials, a lot of premium different textures, nice stitching, the Bowers & Wilkins sound system, which is utterly fantastic. They redesigned the center console for more storage and practicality. Wireless phone chargers here. We have the double cup holders, little slot here for my wallet conveniently. Center console storage too. And that's all I have to say about the 2025.5. Oh, it also has 3 rows of seats. Really thin headrest too. Notice that. That's kind of interesting here. Captain's chairs in the second row. And I'm out of things to say.
But
we also have different drive modes available too. We have hybrid power, pure, off-road, all-wheel drive. Hybrid's a mix. Power is max power. Pure is all electric mode. Off-road is for doing off-road shenanigans. You can have it always start in drive mode pure, which is electric mode. You can change how the battery is used, whether auto, hold, maintains a level of charge, or to use the engine to charge the battery. Creep is when you're in electric mode if you wanted to scoot forward when you take your foot off the brake. Steering wheel can go between firm and soft. Air suspension control for easy entry and exit. I'm going to turn that on so it'll lower when we want to get out of the car.
But there's no wireless CarPlay.
Yeah, that is a little bit of a downside.
For an $88,000 car, that's a little bit disappointing, right?
I'm surprised. I wonder if that's their way of also weaning us off of CarPlay, just like GM, and making us get used to using the built-in Google system. Because you know all the GM EVs, whether it's the Silverado EV, the GMC Sierra EV, all of those, they do not have Apple CarPlay. GM's gotten rid of it.
Really?
So you have to do login. A lot of people complain. My friend Drake, he loses his mind. He's so upset about it. I don't mind it as much when it's a good built-in system because like Rivian, they don't have CarPlay. Teslas don't have CarPlay, just use the built-in system. So maybe this is their way of slowly getting us off of getting used to having CarPlay and using the built-in system. Maybe. I mean, you still don't mind it though, right? If the native system is good and it works really well, and then I personally, where I don't use Apple Maps, I don't use Apple Music, so I'm less affected. I use Spotify and I use Google Maps, which they're natively on this thing. So personally, I'm okay, but I can acknowledge the fact that if you're used to using Apple Maps and Apple Music, you're going to be annoyed that you can't have CarPlay because you got to do ecosystem. So yeah, it's interesting.
I would fall within the latter because I like having the handheld device of my iPhone and putting in the address.
And then be able to, when you have it, I believe Google
Whoa.
I heard a helicopter going by. If you have the Google system, you can log in and then it'll sync.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So you have your account. The whole point is to log inside. I don't usually do it because like this is not our car. We have it for a week, but you would do that. Also, they redesigned the vertical air vents here on either side. So I had a Celsius, so I have a lot of energy right now. In case you can't tell.
I was gonna say, I feel like this last 3-minute clip has been a really great representation of the ADHD brain that, you know, where you're jumping from topic to topic, and I'm like having a hard time following.
No, it's interesting. I think some of the interior components are familiar from the Lotus, because Lotus and Volvo are now both owned by Geely, so they share interior components. So I'm pretty sure the Lotus Emira, which we're gonna have shortly, you've never been in an Emira, I think some of these little buttons and toggles are shared.
Isn't that a 2-door?
Yeah, it's a little 2-seater, a little tiny little sports car.
Oh,
it's gonna
cool.
be fun. Yeah. Lotus. Something about this seems illegal, even though this bottle is obviously sealed, but the cup holder will fit a full bottle of wine. So I have fully used up all of the electric range, and I have not plugged this in to charge. You can charge it on the go, but because I'm out of electric range, the MPGs is dropping. Now I just have the 4-cylinder working away, so it's at 21.5, but that's because we were sitting there idling in the parking lot, or avoiding the rain and enjoying some air conditioning at the air show, so that definitely killed my MPGs. But to get that really, really high MPG combined, you're gonna want to charge it at night, so you leave on a full battery. And when I had a full battery and it was kind of mixing in between hybrid, we were seeing like 70, 80 MPG. The cameras are pretty nice on this thing. We have the backup camera and the overhead view, but when you also go full screen overhead view, that's also very, very nice. Yeah, look at that. Full screen 360 view. That's pretty nice. I like that. This would be very helpful for you for parking.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
My Porsche already has this, though.
But I'm saying like the size of the screen and aspect ratio, how much like clarity although it gets really warpy, that car looked kind of funny going by. Yeah. Swedish car to a Swedish furniture store. Woo, this is very, very fitting. Although I don't think we're buying anything today, so we're not testing out the cargo capacity practicality of the XC90. Oh look, there's another one. I almost forgot. There is a charge point station right there. We have a built-in charge point app. Nearby stations? We might as well plug it in while we're in there. Hopefully there's some free stations available. Low battery. Yeah, I'm pretty much empty. I have not plugged in. In use. Is there one available? IKEA USA Canton 2. Charging. If you own this, you would probably just install a wall charger level 2 at home, and then every morning you leave home with 25, 30 miles of all-electric range, and you would probably be getting insane fuel economy. Now, where is the charging door? I'm not sure, so I'm just going to pull in. Charger right here. Initializing charging. Plug and charge. Do your thing. Okay, we charged for 1 hour and 21, added a bit over 4 kilowatt hours, 25%, showing 6 miles. But that's it. We are done at IKEA. Holy crap, it's hot. Oh my gosh, 106 degrees Fahrenheit. Air conditioning, air conditioning. Let's take a look at the updated exterior design of the XC90. You'll immediately notice new headlight styling with this really cool hammer-shaped DRL, the LED outline there, it's a bit slimmer. The grille has also been redesigned with these angled chrome lines here, pretty cool. The hood has been slightly tweaked, but the overall shape and design is essentially carryover. This is a slight refresh to the XC90. We are on the optional 21-inch wheels. You can do either 20-inch, 21-inch, or go up to 22-inch wheels, and this one has also been equipped with air suspension, which is adjustable height. We have the charging door right here on the driver's side, and this is a new color for the update called Mulberry Red. It's this dark red purpley color with a bit of metallic flake to it too. And then we have some of the chrome surround here on the trim. The taillights are slightly more tinted, but overall essentially the same shape and design. We have the XC90 badge, the Volvo lettering, and here T8 that says plug-in hybrid all-wheel drive. I believe before the refresh this would have been called the Recharge, but they've gone to the the T8 naming, with the B5 and the B6 as the lower tier versions. I gotta say, the design of the XC90 is aging quite nicely. These are rather minor changes and tweaks. The overall shape and look of the XC90 has stayed pretty much the same even with this update. You really have to know what you're looking for to determine this is a 2025.5 or a pre-refresh model. But compared to some of the newest designs and other vehicles coming out today, I think the XC90 is still looking quite nice. In terms of the powertrain, like I mentioned, this is the top-of-the-line T8 plug-in hybrid, which pairs a 2-liter gas engine with the hybrid electric system. The engine makes 312 horsepower. You get 143 horsepower from the electric motor for a combined output of 455 horsepower and 523 pound-feet of torque. 8-speed automatic transmission. They say 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, and this is a plug-in hybrid, but it does not have DC fast charging, so the 18.8 kilowatt hour battery pack will take about 5 hours to charge up. Now, the onboard powertrain is able to recharge the battery, hold it, or drive in pure electric mode. On a full charge, you get about 32 miles of pure EV range. Stepping down to the entry-level powertrains, you have the B5 and the B6. The B5 makes 247 horsepower. The B6 adds that electric supercharger, so 295 horsepower, but it's a pretty hefty increase in power output, going up to the top-of-the-line T8 plug-in hybrid, which makes this a very popular powertrain combination. Okay, I just realized when the hood is open, that is really high. Like, what? I am 6'3" and I can barely reach that. So if you're not 6'3" or taller, trying to close a hood, that's actually kind of challenging. Like, I am on my tiptoes reaching up to grab that hood to close it. Whoa, okay, that was not something I expected on the XC90. So I noticed when you're in hybrid mode, when you accelerate, it leaves in electric mode, but if you want more power, if you give it more throttle, all of a sudden the engine kicks on, and sometimes you can have a little bit of a surge when the engine kicks on. That handover is not always perfectly smooth. I assume the solution to that would be to go into power, which then would combine both the gas and electric powertrains at the same time, and you wouldn't have that transition point between hybrid and power. It also, I feel like the suspension gets a little bit firmer. This one has the air suspension with the active control kind of stuff. So the suspension, I think, definitely is a bit firmer in power. This is the equivalent of a sport drive mode, right? But this is, Volvo doesn't make their cars like super sporty. I mean, they did have Polestar, but this doesn't have like that kind of treatment. Like, there's no paddle shifters, so you're not going to have an X5M competitor or an AMG equivalent kind of thing. That was Polestar, and they did a little bit of stuff. Polestar had some pretty fun, like, tuned versions of Volvo vehicles, but not for this powertrain setup combination here. The ambient lighting at night nicely accents the wood trim here on the door, across the dash, but it's relatively subtle and minimalistic. No crazy RGB various colors. The speaker grills don't light up, so it's kind of the more minimalistic, simple feel to it, but nice and classy. And something I really like is the crystal here on the transmission selector. It's made by Orifors, which is a Swedish like luxury glass maker, and it's illuminated at night. I remember the XC90 first coming out with this like glass crystal shifter, and it's one of my favorite touches of the interior. Interior tour of the XC90. So on the door here, we've got this textured wood trim, the metal Bowers & Wilkins speaker grills. You got one here, one here. The lower one here is not the same matching silver, so that's an interesting choice. And then nice soft touch materials. The seats are comfortable. They're heated, ventilated, and massage. And this lighter Napa leather is cardamom. That's the interior spec here. Let's go ahead and step in. We've got the 11.2-inch infotainment screen, and then vertical air vents, so that I believe is a slight redesign. This is some sort of like recycled material. It's got some cool texture and stitching, and then more of that wood trim across the dash, extending to the passenger door. Little Bowers & Wilkins speaker up there. And these seats, I feel like, are rather thin. Like, this headrest is very thin, which I imagine will provide more space in the second row. And the little Swedish flag is also a fun little touch. Now, this one is equipped with the captain's chair, so we have two right here, armrests fold down. You can angle this forward to access the third row. I'll crawl back there in a moment. We've got cup holders here. We've got double USB-C charging ports, little climate control panel. So I'm 6'3". The driver's seat is where I would be comfortable driving, and I have plenty of leg room, knee room back here. The way the seats sculpt in really helps there. Angle it forward. All right, there we go. That leaves you a bit of space to crawl into the third row. Ah, boy. This is always hard to do gracefully, especially if you're tall and not a tiny little person. I've made it in the back. Yeah, let me come to this side, and no, that's not gonna work. Okay, so my legs are just way too long. You're not gonna use the third row for a road trip for a full-size adult. Yeah, I'm not even gonna. Nah, this is no go. But if you have kids, they will absolutely fit back here. I mean, this size and segment of SUV isn't meant to be a super spacious third row. If you need that, you go up a step to like a Expedition, a Lincoln Navigator, Escalade, something much bigger for proper third row, a Mercedes GLS, and so forth. But in a pinch, it does have 3 rows, but I certainly would be begging not to have to sit back here on a road trip. Second row seats are fine. Up front, definitely fine. Comfortable massage seats and everything. But I don't want to sit in the third row for any prolonged periods of time. I gotta say, that is a gigantic air vent, though. It looks like the size of like a vent cover you'd have in your house. What? And you have a little bit of storage here in the armrest, cup holder. All right, we need to make a quick trip to Costco, so let's do a bit of driving and wrap up our thoughts on what it has been like to live with the 2020.5 Volvo XC90 T8 plug-in hybrid. This is a very nice premium luxury SUV, but it presents a slightly different personality compared to the German luxury SUVs, the American luxury SUVs. There's something about like the Swedish simplistic elegance. It doesn't have as many of the over-the-top features, all the screens, some of the gimmicks, the extra lighting that some other options seem to have, and it's welcome. It's just a more relaxed, simple elegance, and there's a luxury in that too. Everything just works really well, and I think the build quality and the details are one of the highlights for me. The nice stitched material, the textured wood, it just all works very nicely. Now, this infotainment screen, this is a 11.2-inch Google-based system, and it works pretty well. We do have to have wired CarPlay, but I've actually found myself using the built-in Google system with Spotify and Google Maps. It can be a little laggy at times. I've noticed a little tiny bit when I'm tapping through some various things. I've experienced a little bit of that, but they've also added some new cool features. They have this like contextual bar here, which updates depending on what's going on. You see, as I'm slowing down, approaching a red light, that pulled up the camera shortcut, so I could pull up the cameras I want to. So that actually updates depending on what is happening. We can go here, shortcut for drive modes. We're in hybrid right now. We can go over to power. That maximizes everything. Air suspension is lowering slightly. You have pure off-road, all-wheel drive. You can change all these various controls, but this infotainment screen works pretty well. It looks nice. They increased the pixel density by like 21%. And a really cool thing is if you have a modern Volvo equipped with this Google built-in system, you're eligible for an over-the-air update. I looked at the list. It's like pretty much all their vehicles since as far back as 2020. So if you have an existing Volvo with even not this system, you'll have some sort of update coming, which I think is pretty cool. One of the other highlights for me is the upgraded Bowers & Wilkins sound system. I believe it's 1,410 watts, 19 speakers, and since this generation of XC90 came out, the Bowers & Wilkins is one of my favorites. The clarity, the immersion, it is an amazing sound system and remains one of the best out there. We've got the metal speaker grills here. You got a lot of different options for whether the studio mode or stage, where you can go between surround, concert hall, or jazz club. It is a really nice sound system and definitely remains one of the highlights. This is also a very quiet vehicle, very isolated from the outside world. They added more sound deadening on the A pillars and B pillars, and it just really isolated from, it's just quiet, right? No, not a lot of wind noise, not a lot of road noise, and that's really nice in a luxury vehicle. Now, if I have to be nitpicky, downsides, complaints, I mentioned this infotainment screen can be just a little bit laggy at times. There's been a couple times where I'm trying to tap through and it's not the most responsive. You have the built-in Google App Store, so you can download things, and like I was using the ChargePoint app, and that's probably more on ChargePoint, less on this system. The ChargePoint app was super laggy, not great to use. I ended up pulling on my phone and just Google mapping it. You could use the built-in Google Maps. You can download things like Waze. You see there's YouTube right there. But the infotainment screen is okay. It's not the absolute best, but it's not terrible. There's definitely been worse systems out there. And then the last thing would be the driver assistance tech. It's not not the most advanced or competitive. It doesn't have any full hands-free on a supported freeway. I'm guessing it might be because this is on a more legacy platform. I need to try out maybe a EX30 or EX90 when they built a full EV platform. I'm not actually sure what the Pilot, like the advanced driver system, is on that option. But for this XC90, like even compared to what's Lincoln Nautilus. Spent a week with Lincoln Nautilus, this fantastic luxury SUV that had Blue Cruise, and driving from Detroit to Chicago was essentially hands-free the entire way. So if I was nitpicking, that would be one of the complaints, especially at this price point, right? This one's optioned at nearly $90,000, about $88,000. The most I guess most affordable version of the new XC90, the B5, starts at right around $60,000. So 60 grand to 74 for the T8, this powertrain. And I do think this powertrain is worth the extra spend. Not just, I mean, your fuel economy is going to be better if you're doing shorter distances and getting to plug in overnight. 30-ish miles of range is very much usable. But you get so much more power and torque compared to the B5 and the B6. I mean, the B5, 247, the B6, 295 horsepower. You're going up to 455 and 523 pound-feet of torque. I think that is worth the extra money. Now, the T8 Ultra, a little bit nicer. Like this one here starts around 80, and this one's been optioned at $88,000 with Bowers & Wilkins. We have the air suspension and the lounge package, which brings the massage seats. Oh, I'm not even using my massage seats. Oh my goodness. I got in the habit of turning them on every time I get in the car. The massage seats in this thing are pretty good. I definitely like them. And overall, I've had amazing impressions about this thing. For something that's this old, a lot of times these platforms, once you get to this age, they can feel it. And I think Volvo kept the XC90 fresh. It still drives. It drives well. Not sporty. They're just not the ethos or intent of this. Like, there's no paddle shifters here. Even though it makes very solid power and torque, the suspension still rides very comfortably. I am currently in power mode, which actually stiffens suspension slightly, and I put steering feel into firm because soft is almost too light, like insanely light steering. So I actually liked firm. So you can modify a couple of these things, but this is definitely a luxury SUV that is pursuing the calm experience. It's more, it's not trying to be an X5M competitor. They don't have that for this vehicle. So yeah, I mean, very, very positive experience with the XC90 this week. Really, the only things I would really complain about would be the infotainment can be a little bit laggy sometimes, and their driver assistance tech is not the most competitive. Other things like are unknown, like the third row seats are not that practical or spacious, and that's just a given with this size segment vehicle. If you need more space, you just kind of have to upsize to something bigger for a usable third row. That being said, we did put 2 adults in the back. I was at my friend Preston and Avery's house, and we were running to grab pizza, and we crammed people into the third row, and it was usable in a pinch. It didn't look very comfortable for them back there, but it was absolutely still a usable rear seat. So I hope you guys enjoyed spending a week living with the 2025.5 Volvo XC90 plug-in hybrid. What do you guys think? Would you pick this over the pure EV competitor or their sibling, the EX90? How does it stack up against the X5 to you, the Audi Q7, the Mercedes GLE? If this thing had a bit more advanced driver assistance tech, I think it would be my top choice in the segment, especially for like my wife Angel, right? She could absolutely make good use of this thing, commuting and taking her long road trips for work or whatever. Like, I would feel very comfortable putting her in this car, having her drive it every day. She'd have massage seats, a nice sound system. Yeah, it's a really nice option. And I think the final thing is just impressed what they have been able to continue on with this platform, with this update to it. Hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. Thanks for watching.